feel like we've almost had a series in this last week and a half of different topics when it comes to these videos and the thoughts that I'm having as I'm going through these workouts. And one that I talked about last week was the idea of giving your absolute best effort on the day, trying as hard as you can, and no matter what happens, you gave it your best. One of you guys, actually, one of my viewers, Jay Jiggs, left a comment with a quote by Arthur Ashe that kind of stuck out to me. It said, "Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can." And that really struck me as relevant to the way that I'm working through all these different things that I'm trying to do with my total. A big realization for me in the last week, couple weeks, I've been thinking about it recently, is that the way that we tend to classify ourselves as lifters, the novice idea, the intermediate, the advanced, the novice, can recover from workouts and improve at a rapid rate. An intermediate takes longer because the stimulus that they're having to apply is a little bit more damaging. It takes longer for that to have a recovery effect and go through that cycle of tear down, recover, supercompensate. And then advanced obviously is the highest level of that, and it takes the longest to make progress. So you want to stay a novice as long as you possibly can, then you want to move to intermediate and stay there as long as you can. It's always a spectrum, and you move away from it as you become more proficient at something. I've said that many times. To get better at something you're already good at takes a lot more hard work than to become more proficient at something you, for all intents and purposes, just suck at. And that is, I don't want to say realization, but the realization that you may have the different parts of your lifting progress at different rates kind of stuck out in my mind. I can't train my deadlift, my squat, and my bench with the same expectation of those adaptations because they're at different points along that spectrum. It's not just me as a lifter having one level all the way through where I have to train all of those lifts the same way. And I'm really finding that with my bench press right now, and my squat. My approach has had to change a little bit to take into account that I may not be as good at some of those skills as I am at other things. My genetic predisposition to deadlift with my long limbs and my shorter torso, sucks for squats, sucks for bench, generally pretty helpful in the deadlift. And so I have to train those movements with different intentionalities, and kind of the mentality through all of it that I'm taking on right now is this controlled, aggressive approach. It's something I've heard Mike DeShearer talk about, and I've really enjoyed the idea of thinking about my training in that way, where aggressive in that you are constantly wanting to pursue improvement. You're definitely not sitting around and being tentative in your progress. You're expecting yourself to progress at a reasonable rate, and at the same time you're making smart decisions or controlling that and keeping it from just being straight up YOLO lifting of I'm just going to go for a PR every single time I'm in the gym without any concern to where I am in my training cycle, where I'm at in the training week. And it's funny because you'll see two different examples of that mentality in different ways in just this workout. At the top set of my triples today for my squats, I put on 595. That's what I had planned. That was my intention the entire time. At one point though, I said I kind of want to put on 600 and go for that and tie my PR, and I had to stop myself and said, is that necessary right now? Do you need that? Can you get it? Yes, I absolutely feel like I could have hit that 600 triple with no issues, but I kind of defaulted back to the idea of earning the right to go for that PR and saying, how about you make these ones just ridiculously solid? How about you make them as good as you possibly can and set yourself up for some other good performances later in the week, and then you'll have another chance to come back at that. You're not in a rush. I have a relatively aggressive improvement plan based off of where I expect to be when I come into the meet in July, and I don't need to knock down the doors to get there any faster. It's not going to get there faster. It's going to move at the rate. If I can keep on my schedule, then it's going to be a pretty awesome performance. I don't need to be ahead of that schedule to put up the numbers that I want to. And so that comes in with the patience, and that's the controlled portion. Then the aggression is something that I am seeing more with the bench pressing. My buddy Matt and I, who have been working on this bench pressing scheme, he and I both decided that 380 was a reasonable number, despite the fact that last week 370 didn't look great. But he said after the work you put in last week and how focused you are and some of the technical improvements that we've been making, he said he thought I'd be good for it, and I actually hit that 380 you saw. I even took 385. I lifted my butt on the 385, so I can't count that. But still, that's 10 pounds up, 15 if you count the dirty rep at that 11 RPE that I made up for the sake of cheating. And then did my 10 back offsets with 355, which is another 10 pounds up from last week. And so kind of taking my bench press and treating it more as a lower level intermediate or late novice kind of a thing, where I'm expecting that progress to be there because I'm putting in the work in between, and just saying, you know, I'm not going to accept a slower rate. I'm going to push it a little bit more. I'm going to rely on that adaptation because it's something I'm less skilled at, to improve at a more rapid rate and kind of force my body into those adaptations. So we'll see if it works. I mean, it's a lot of time and effort to focus on getting those sessions in. This was a long session, about 3 hours long plus, and then you know, it takes a lot of effort on the recovery end. I have to make sure that I'm on top of my mobility, on top of my nutrition, my sleep. All that stuff has to be solid, or else everything goes to put and it doesn't even matter anymore. So those are my thoughts for the day. That's the workout. Thank you all for watching and joining me along. I'll have my deadlifts and some close grip bench and some more arm work on Thursday. But until then, I hope you're all doing well, and I will talk to you very soon. Have a great night.